So hello everybody. I am here today with the lovely Victoria Henderson Weber, who is going to talk with us about this referendum bond that is going to be up for a vote in a little over a week. Today is October 26th, 2025. But the election is going to be coming up here in the next week and a half, and it will be on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. And so we just wanted to kind of get together and talk a little bit about what this is and why it is important for all of us to consider and to participate by voting on this referendum. And so my name is Heather Jones Brown. I serve in the capacity right now in this space. We're serving as community members and community leaders, and we just want to make sure that we're getting the word out here for you all. So, Victoria, do you want to start off with telling us a little bit about you, and then we'll walk it through these questions so people can have a better understanding of what the referendum is?
My name is Victoria Henderson Weber. I am the president of the Des Moines branch of the NAACP. Um, I am a North High grad, so this is important to me for a few different reasons, and also a mother of a DMPS student.
Awesome.
Um, I
Yes.
I was gonna say I did serve on the Reimagine committee for the full time that it was being built as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for serving in the multiple capacities that you serve in our community. I too am a Des Moines Public Schools graduate. I graduated from Des Moines East High School. Go Scarlets. But yes, so thank you, Victoria. And I still love my polar bears too. So
It's
uh,
okay.
I love me some polar bears. So talk to us. What is this bond about? And why is it important?
I think it's more important for people right now to understand what it's not about. So it is not about salaries. It's not about administrative costs. It is really bonds or for the purpose of building facilities.
Okay.
Now, the lens that we worked through was that we know if we improve facilities, that opens opportunities for other programming. And so you do hear programming being associated with it. But a lot of people say, well, why would you want to build new buildings and why wouldn't you want to pay teachers? Well, that's not what bond money is for. There are different funds available to be able to do that with. This is specifically about making sure that our kiddos have classroom repairs and labs and learning spaces that meet the needs of today's learning, not the needs of our average school is like 80 years old, so definitely not the needs of 80 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Thank you for clarifying that for everyone. I think it's really important for us to know what the bond is about and also what it is not about. So thank you for clearing that up. Um, Another question that we see that you seem to have been getting quite a bit is how do we know that the community has a voice in this plan? Could you tell us more about that?
Who? Yes. I didn't quite know what I was being asked to participate in. We knew that it was about improving schools in some way, but I didn't understand the capacity, and the scale at which this was going to be done. And the very first night, we walked into a meeting, 80 community members. This was a very large committee that then broke off into subcommittees, but it was a very large committee of folks from the community. So, and when I say that, I mean like everyday folks, parents, business owners, pastors, principals, teachers, anybody that would care about the outcomes of students, even if they don't have students in the district themselves were involved in the committee. I don't think I've ever seen an effort so well balanced in terms of diversity, in terms of investment. Um, I don't think I've ever seen that sort of scale in any committee that I've ever been involved in. It really was a very inclusive community effort that was really intentionally led really by Matt Smith to ensure that everybody's voice was represented.
And for those of you that may not know who Matt Smith is, Matt is currently our interim Des Moines Public Schools superintendent. So
Yeah.
it's great to hear that Matt was fully involved in that process as well. Awesome. Well, it's great. I think that making sure that as much of our community is involved as we possibly can is critical for us as we're trying to reimagine what things may look like. So it's great for us to know as voters that our community had a presence in building this plan. That's amazing. Um, and you talked a little bit about what this bond is not. Can you talk more specifically about some of the things that the bond will pay for?
Yeah. So again, by Iowa law, bonds can only be used for facility purchasing, building repairs, improving our schools, like the physical aspects of the schools. And
Mhm.
so there are other sources like sales tax revenues and things like that that can handle other things. But we've just reached a point where we can no longer cover the expenses with those other options. And so what we put together really is a plan that helps modernize the facilities so that we can put in some advanced programming. So we're talking about modern CTE and STEM labs being in every high school. So really taking some efforts to make what is available in each region more equitable. Currently today, for some special programming, students have to travel down to Central Campus. Well, there's not enough room for everybody to be at Central Campus. And also, there's a lot of folks who don't even know what's available at Central Campus. And so, this would take some of those Central Campus type programs and put them at the local high schools. To do that, though, again, the spaces that the programming is in have to be sufficient to house the programming. So you would have things like that. Also, it's looking to extend preschool access. So really there are best practices for preschool, such as having bathrooms in every classroom. Can you imagine a teacher with a bunch of preschoolers trying to take them across the building to potty and all of those things, right? And so, expanded preschool access sounds like programming, but really there's facility support needed for that able to exist. And we do have a good preschool program happening today, but it definitely needs to be extended because preschool is something that all of our littles should be able to have, not just the ones who are fortunate enough for that sort of access. We'd be looking at things like expanded performance arts spaces, um, that sort of is in flux based on my understanding of what all that would entail. But again, if we want the best performing arts programs, they need the best spaces to be able to
Yeah.
do that. Other things that I think are really critically important is the replacements and expansions for the outdated and overcrowded classrooms that we have. So we do know, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but this overall plan does involve also closing schools. It was a really hard decision to have to make, but it is easier and more affordable for the district to be able to put more students in one building, and then you need less administrative staff to run the building,
Yep.
right? Than it is to then pay electricity and facilities costs and all that things, especially on buildings that have structural issues or anything else happening. And so it winds up being less to be able to actually extend buildings. So to close the schools, of course, you got to have room for the students. And so the intention isn't to cram a whole bunch more students into classrooms that are already not big enough. The plan is to make the classrooms the right size for the students that the building would be housing. And so you would see quite a few expansions, and then you would also see things like new rebuilds. So, Moulton Elementary is the only one off the top of my head that I think is a complete rebuild.
Okay.
That is one of the oldest buildings in town. And really needs to start over. But also, we recognize that that neighborhood needs a school. And so you can't just completely eliminate it because the building is old. So the option is to rebuild it. So those are the sort of things that you would see the bond paying for.
Okay. And I know, just to reiterate this, I know you said this at the beginning. This is mostly about this bond will help with the building, making sure that the buildings are set and ready for the students. It has nothing to
Yes,
do with paying the teachers. It is about the buildings themselves. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Um, so you did speak about this a little bit already, but can you tell us a little bit more about how this bond will improve access to career and technical programs?
Yeah, so while the bond itself pays for the facility improvements, I think that something that people have to sort of expand their thinking about is that the bonds, when the facilities are improved, the opportunities that you can put in the facilities expand. So
Right,
while there were folks working on facility sort of improvements, you also had parts of the committee thinking about like what sort of programming do we want the kids to have access to? So what do we need to build to? And then based on what we already have, what could we put in? What programs could we put in? And so if everybody remembers, there were a ton of surveys that DMPS put out earlier this year, asking what is it that the community really wants. And, like the plan wasn't for the district to say, well, this is what the kids are going to have.
you're right.
No, it went out and asked the students themselves, if you could have the best of the best, what would you want? For parents, what do you want your kids to learn? What skills do you want them to be able to have in the end? And then also asking the local businesses, what sort of employees, because really at some point, this turns into a workforce. What sort of skills do you want the employees to have? What sort of market is the Des Moines Metro going to house? So if we want to keep our talent here versus them going to other places, what skills do we need them to have to be able to work in the metro? And so we see things that we already have, like culinary arts, and we also see expansions of, or in healthcare, but we see expansions of those programs as well, and we see expansions of things like welding. Kids can't again travel, all kids can't travel to Central Campus, which has a great program, but what
Yep.
does it look like to put those programs in their neighborhoods? And so, all of the final details of like what exact programs are where isn't completely worked out. There is some general like overview that each pathway school area would have. But again, it better aligns those overall opportunities to the schools. And so really the end game is what sort of college credits or industry certificates, or workforce and or military skills could kids be graduating with. And those are the programs. So what people asked for is what people are going to get. Their neighborhoods will be reflective of what they asked for.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think one of the points that you made that I think is so critical for us to continue to think about is that even if you are a person who maybe you don't have kids at all, maybe your kids are grown, maybe you're thinking about having kids, maybe not, at the end of the day, all of these students are going to grow up and be adults. And so then they are going to be pouring back into our community. And so I think it's great that you were able to break that down and show people how, even if I don't have a child in the Des Moines public school system, this is why I should care about what is going on here.
Really, I thank you for highlighting that point. I think it's bigger than people even understand. As I work professionally in public transit and understand how Des Moines being the center of our metro region, it's critical for all of the cities around us. Like everybody needs to be invested in the outcomes of Des Moines public school students. These kids are going to be the property owners, the business owners, the medical professionals, they are going to be the us's of the future, right?
Yep.
And we don't just graduate high school and stay in Des Moines. We live in West Des Moines and Waukee and Grimes, or we find that there's no opportunity here for us because people don't invest in us and we leave and go give our talents to other places. And so not only do parents and community members from the Des Moines Metro need to be paying attention to this, those of you who live outside of the Des Moines or outside of this Des Moines proper also need to be paying attention and talking to your friends that live in the metro about why they need to be voting yes and why they need to be supporting these initiatives because it really does affect the entire metropolitan area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. It impacts us all. And we have to continue to remind ourselves as, you know, as the circle of life that continues, so to
Yeah.
speak. I love me some Lion King, and the circle of life that is and how it exists in our city continues to be from as people are growing as babies and they come through school, but and as they age and go out into the world, but then also being a part of that world and also being like the elders of that community. These kids will be the elders of our community in the next 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so critical for us to continue to remind ourselves of that as we talk
And
about this.
yeah, and think about it. Des Moines Public Schools is the largest school district in the state. That's over 30,000 kids that
Yeah.
will one day be adults,
Yep.
that are voting and making decisions and taking care of us, frankly. And I
Yep.
want them properly trained, and I hope that
Yeah.
everybody does as well.
Yeah, and I want them to be able to have opportunities to grow and thrive, right? Like I think about the opportunities that I was able to take advantage of at Central Campus. As you know, a kid, my focus at Central Campus was going and taking Japanese class, but that like literally sent me across the world to eventually like fulfill that opportunity of being able to live there and being able to bring that experience back to my community so I can be able to continue to invest here. And so I think that that is it's great that they're going to be creating opportunities in the areas in which these schools are at, not just at Central Campus. I think
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
absolutely.
Yeah. I know that was a bit of a digression for us, but I think it
Yeah,
was helpful to
it's worth it.
provide us with context so that we can see ourselves in this program no matter who we are in our community. But the next question, which is always an important question, we know that taxes are already high. We know that that raising taxes can be a stressor. But how much more will this program cost? How much will this reimagining of our Des Moines Public Schools cost us? But how much is it also going to be worth?
Who? So, I think the starting with the worth, this is something that has unimaginable, like unlimited value. We, every opportunity you give a student um is priceless. You it just it's priceless. Them being able to do whatever it is that they want to do for themselves, to feel whole and loved and cared for and supported, um, is worth all the money in the world as far as I'm concerned. That is what I want people to want for me, and that is what I want for other people. And so the cost, if you have a $200,000 house, they're quoting it at about $188 a year. Most people in the Des Moines Metro do not have a $200,000 house, right? Like
Yep.
property values in certain neighborhoods certainly exceed that. But that's not for everybody. Also, that is a homeowner tax base, right? Or a business tax base. And so, those of us like me who live on the east side, who have a smaller house that's, around the $100,000 value, maybe just a little bit more than that, we're looking at half of that. That's not a whole lot of money. But either way, you're talking about a couple streaming services a year.
Right.
Like it's like we pay for those without thinking about it.
Yep.
We always talk about coffee, or right now it's apple cider season, and I don't think twice about going and paying $4 or $5 for me to have a one-time enjoyable moment, right? We all do that, and we all should be able to do that. But
Yep.
also, it shows you like as quickly as you are willing to go do that, you should also be willing to put that same sort of effort into the kids. And so we're talking about a couple streaming services a year, or the equivalent of taking a family of four out to dinner once a month. Like that's it's just not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money when you think about the value, which again has unlimited value. And so we are talking about spaces that haven't been updated in a very long time. We're talking about the average age of buildings being 80 some odd years old. So, and we are talking about we haven't had a bond. They have not come out and asked for money in over 36 years. Like it's our generation's time now
Yep.
to be thinking about this. The last bond would have happened when I was in elementary school. And here I am as a grown woman with children. It is my turn to pay forward what the community back then thought
Yep.
was worth it to pay forward for us. And so those learning spaces are invaluable. I do think it's also important to point out that while this feels high, especially as the world is in this crazy moment for a lot of people, we have to understand that every day that we delay this, also costs will continue to increase. And so the value of what we get for that bond amount will be less. We won't be able to do as much with the money in the future. And so we can't continue to push this off with, well, what about next year? Let's see what happens. No, next year we might not be able to do half. We just don't
Yep.
know. And so right now we can secure these things with this funding.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that that's important to keep in mind as we are considering this. One, yes, of course, spending extra money sometimes can add a little bit of pinch to us, but thinking about what it looks like long term and what we're gonna be getting as a generation, and thinking about what our parents decided to do for us so that we can now be the people that we are and the people that are navigating this community as adults is very important. And also I think it's important too that um even no matter who is leading the charge, our school district deserves to be able to be competitive with the rest of our region and the rest of the Midwest, and
Yeah.
which leads me to the next question of how does this compare to other school districts in our area?
Listen, this is the like most critical point to me. Um, there was a young man, an East High student, a brilliant young man who was on this facilities committee with us. Again, everybody was represented, including students. And they did a tour of Waukee schools. And his feedback when he came back from seeing some of the facilities at Waukee broke my heart. Um, because it very much felt like he was saying to us, why aren't Des Moines kids worth that? He pointed out some things that a lot of people would find very superficial. Um, Waukee branding being on weights in the weight room, right? Like not a bunch of mismatched donated weights, but actually weights that were made for their school. So that those kids participating in physical activities had the newest and the best resources. Waukee is a district that continues to put in the money. Now they have a larger taxable base of homeowners.
Yep.
And so the money is spread over more folks. Um, but they continue to go out like every 2 and 3 years. 117 million in 2018, 205 million in 2020, 180 million in 2023. Ankeny, Urbandale, Johnston. We've got two or three, West Des Moines and Ankeny, I believe, have bonds on the ballot right now as well. Like it's not just DMPS that needs funding. Like education and supporting education costs. And this is how we have our government set up to pay for it. And so, if we want to be competitive with those districts, I hear people in the metro all the time say, "Oh, I need to find a friend's address and send my kid out to Waukee." Like we shouldn't. Why should we want to have to send our kids 30, 40 minutes away, depending on what part of town you live in? Like our kids here deserve to have what those kids out there have access to. Now, while I say that, I don't want to like make people think that Des Moines Public Schools already doesn't have some of the greatest things. Um, to the point of this programming we're talking about putting at the schools, those suburban schools send their students in to utilize Central Campus.
Yeah.
They get that programming if if they've set up the relationship to do so. So they're the very thing that we're trying to expand for our kids, their kids don't have. They have the nicest facilities, but they don't necessarily have the programming to match. And so we can extend the programming for our own kids. Like it's not just chasing, what things look like. It's about, again, the opportunities that can be provided in the expanded framework, which are the things that those districts want as well. But again, I think it's really important to note that all of the other districts around us have not had a problem going out. They've passed bonds with 80, 90% support. We need 60% support to pass the bonds. They are overwhelmingly supportive of educating their children in whatever way they need to, and we need to match their energy.
Yep. Yep. And for any Des Moines Public Schools students that may end up watching this video, like we want you to know and make it very clear that you deserve to be in spaces that are just as great as anywhere
Yeah,
else because you are valued just as much as any other kid on this planet.
absolutely.
We very much care about you and your well-being as we care about all the kids in the state of Iowa and across the world. So
Yeah,
you deserve this as well. So I'm really hopeful that our the adult us's give that opportunity
yes,
to the kids of DMPS.
absolutely.
Um yeah, I think that's a really critical point that you hit right on the nose there. So the last couple of questions here um go a little bit further into kind of like the policy side or the accountability side. So this next question is what safeguards and accountability are in place for this bond when it gets passed?
There's a ton. And DMPS has shown that they're willing to create more to make people feel comfortable. And so, again, Iowa code limits how the money is spent. That is a process that is built into law. It is documented, it is audited, it has all of the safeguards already built into it, right? And so, technically, we don't need to do anything else. The law covers what needs to be done to ensure that this money is spent on facility related things only, not salaries, not to benefit operations. There's a misnomer that this money is going to pad the pockets of the school board members. For everybody who doesn't know, our school board members are volunteers. They are elected officials, but they get paid $0 for the hours upon hours upon hours that they spend every month helping set the goals and the framework and the policy that dictates what our kiddos have. So there is no money going back into any individual's pocket. This is a building's effort, facility effort. And again, those facility efforts will then allow us to expand programming. But so Iowa law covers that. Then DMPS, because they heard everybody's concerns, did create an independent oversight committee. More information to come on that committee if when the bond passes. Um, but they will be tracking progress and pushing out regular reports so that everybody can have information. The other thing that I think is important to know isn't specific to the bond, it is specific to how school boards function, period. And
Mm.
so every time the district needs to spend an amount of money, a significant amount of money, they have to put that out in public hearings and a bond. Not a bond, I'm sorry, a bid. And so if regardless of this bond existing, if Des Moines wants to buy new air conditioners for a building, they have to put it out. People being residents, you do not have to be a parent, can go and listen to the hearing to see who it has applied, what whether the district really do they really need new air conditioners. Then there's a bidding process, and how that bidding process is awarded has again regulations that are assigned to it. So the district must hold public hearings where the residents of the metro can raise questions or raise objections if they don't feel like it's right. So that's irrelevant of the bond. You can already do that. But because you can already do that, it's already in place for you. And so if you are concerned about this bond passing and how the money is spent, every time they spend money, they will have to talk about it at the school board meetings, and you have the right to follow those meetings, attend those meetings, and comment in those meetings about how you feel about how the money is spent. And so that is a very transparent process already. And then to just further transparency, the district already publishes project lists and costs and updates so that residents can follow it. It's in the minutes, it's in the documentation. DMPS has a very well documented um, a website. Almost everything they're doing you can find, or you can ask if it's not there, and they'll ensure that it gets published for you. That is already a process that's in place again. And so I don't know of a more possibly transparent process. The district has already stated what schools are looking at closures, what schools are looking at expansions. There are no secrets. Oh, all of a sudden there's going to be a new, no, there's not a new anything. The plan is already stated. And that's the plan that once it's published, they will have to follow by code unless there is a reason not to. And then they'll have to ask for exceptions. But those exceptions can be voted on and heard in public comments. So it is literally the safest and most accountable process that we could ask for as taxpayers.
Awesome. Thank you for breaking that down. I think sometimes it can feel like things are a little bit convoluted, but we'll make sure that we also put links to what the plan is, and links to where you can find Des Moines Public School Board meetings. So that way, even if you're not able to attend in person, you are able to attend virtually. So that way you can start to get a better understanding
Yeah,
of what those things are.
absolutely.
So, yeah, awesome. Thank you. Um, and I'm gonna skip over the second to last question here and go to this question about why should people without children care? And I think we've talked about this a little bit already, but is there anything that we should emphasize more so than what we've already discussed?
I don't think so. I think it's just important to remember that investing in our public schools is investing in our city's long-term stability and growth. Like we as a society have to understand how structures and systems work,
Mhm.
and our kids are the literal future of this city. And so
Yep.
we need to just ensure that they have everything they need to be able to be whole living adults. Not holding kiddos accountable for things that don't have anything to do with them. Everybody should want for our city to have the best. And just like you want the best for yourself and your own children, we should equally want that for everybody. And what we know, what history shows us is when everybody doesn't have access to the best, everybody suffers.
Yeah.
You may think that you can do great things for your family and your neighborhood, but if the rest of the city around you is suffering and doesn't have what it needs, your opportunities also will suffer. And so this is not about one kid. This isn't about what you can do in your own house. This is really about every single kid now and in the future who will come through Des Moines Public School doors. And this is about the future of what Des Moines will look like. You know, may we all have many years on this planet. I would like Des Moines when I am 90 some odd years old to be bigger and better than it is now. I would like it to have more opportunities than it has now. I would like to have a enjoyable last few years on life. I don't want to see a city that's falling apart and struggling. I think selfishly that that's how we all should view or want our city to be. And for that to happen, again, we have to invest in our public schools. That is 30,000. That's right now, 30,000, right?
Yep.
That number goes up every year as more
Yep.
students come in and more students are born. Right
Yep.
now, we're talking about in this picture of students, over 30,000 students. And so those students deserve the very best for so many reasons that we can't even articulate.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And I skipped over that last question, the second to last question, but I kind of wanted to spend a little bit of time on it because I think maybe not since the Tinker versus Des Moines Public Schools case has Des Moines Public Schools been so publicly in the national news. And so we know that maybe people have some uncertainty about the district regarding some of the things that have been in the news after those recent events. But why do we still need to vote yes on what this bond is?
It's everything I just said. It is 30,000 students. It's not one leader. It's not one board member. It's not one board. It's not any individual person. If you
Yeah.
say no to the bond, you're saying no to over 30,000 students. You're not saying no um, to something that has happened or not happened. We're talking about something that we don't even know the full details of yet. And there are processes for that that will handle themselves. It has nothing to do with this topic. And so a lot of folks have been concerned about, well, all the board members should resign. Well, um, why? Why should all the board members resign when all the board members didn't have anything to do with any of this process? Why should um why should independent organizations that don't know anything about what our city needs come in and take over when, again, there are accountability things that are built into these bonds? Like everything is built in to protect the resources. It is our job then to ensure that those resources are passed on to the kids. And if we say yes to 30,000 kids, then they will have what they need. Um, we then need to go and hold, if the why for you is them to be held accountable, that's fine. And that is your right as a taxpayer and as a resident. And I respect it. I respect it so much that I believe the exact same thing. And I attend school board meetings. I stay informed on these topics. And so that is our job to do. It's not somebody else's job to do for us. It is our job to stay invested in the process. And so our job is simply to say yes to give 30,000 some odd kids today, plus all of the future kids coming behind them, all of the opportunity in the world. We need to be thinking about what our whys are. And my why is always going to be the kids. All the other stuff will work itself out, and we have accountability things built into place to do that. If you don't want somebody on the school board, don't vote them in. That is an elected position. Don't vote them in. But what does that have to do with the kids? Do not punish our children for what you perceive may or may not have happened in a school board meeting. Again, this is about giving our kids the resources that they need. And so I would encourage everyone to examine what your why is about how you spend your money and how you think about these processes. And remember that we have 30,000 plus whys or reasons to say yes today.
Yep. 100% agree. I 100% agree. If you are still not convinced, think about this as an investment in your own future because if by investing in those 30,000 plus reasons, we will be investing in ourselves down the road. And so, we just wanted to give this time to each other and to whoever is out there in the ethos listening to us, and just give you a call to action to go and participate in the voter process on November 4th, and vote for our kids, vote for their future and for ours as well. Victoria, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with
No,
today?
I would just sort of reiterate everything that we've said. So we have 30,000 plus reasons to say yes. Um, I would have said yes to twice this amount. I would have said yes to three times this amount because those kiddos deserve the world. And we deserve a thriving Des Moines. We know that we have a process that is already safeguarded and accountable. We know that our kiddos haven't had, our district hasn't had a bond in a very long time. We know the average age of our schools are not going to sustain these kids into the future. We know that everybody around us keeps saying yes to their kids. And our kids deserve for us to say this, to say the same. I think it's important to remember that this project was built by community members. I served it's about 2 years on this committee, multiple late nights a month sometimes, arguing and going back and forth about what our kids should have and how we should go about it and making sure that it was inclusive of all types of people. I think it's important to remember that it wasn't just me, it wasn't just Matt Smith, it was people's pastors and people's moms and people's moms and grandmas and teachers and principals, and it was a whole community effort who said, even when we did not agree 100%, and be clear, we did not always agree 100%. What we did do though was sit and say, all right, what is the best for the most of us? And what can we do to get these kids what they need? And we left every night in agreement because our goal was to create something that everybody in this town could say yes to ensure that we could then say yes as a whole to those 30,000 plus kids. And so, know that again, this was not one person, this was not one board, this was not one anything. This was a group of people who cared and came together to put together the best plan, not perfect, but the best plan we could with the resources that we thought we could have available to give these 30,000 kids every opportunity that we can afford for them to deserve. And so, just as that reminder, voting on November 4th, or if you're preparing to early vote this week, it's you still have time to say yes to them.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Victoria, and thanks everybody, and have a good afternoon.